Dave Fullmer, welcome to the On Purpose Podcast, my friend. How are you doing today?
Good. Aloha, brother. How are you?
I love getting aloha in the wintertime because I'm in the mainland, so it's not that warm right now.
Yeah, well, it's sunny and shiny over here. You can see the light on the back of my wall coming through. Sun's coming up. It's 9 o'clock a.m. over here.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for making time to come on our show and for allowing us to share your story with our community. I'm excited to get into rhythms over motivations and practical things that we can do to change our days and to change our moments. But Dave, before I do that, I got to warm you up a little bit. It's early in the morning over there. I got to give you some quick questions to get us warmed up, get going. Yeah, man, let's go. You ready for these? All right, here you go. You wake up tomorrow with 1 extra hour in your day. What are you going to use that hour to do?
I'm going to use it to plan the next day and to take a journal entry of the previous day, the current day that I was in.
Okay. All right. You get to remove one distraction from your life for a week. What goes first?
The news.
Dude, that's an easy one, huh? All right. What's one book that changed how you think?
Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Some stoicism there. What'd you take away from that book, Dave?
I took away from that book quite a bit. One of the big ones is the weaknesses I see in others is the weakness that can exist in me. To view my fellow human beings as myself in a way that we're all in this together, and that I'm not disconnected from any other human walking this earth, that we're eternally connected through our actions and the way that we sojourn during this mortal experience. Connectivity to my human brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that's powerful. What do you think of the Stoicism movement gaining popularity again?
It's where it all. I mean, everything has history and everything has lineage. So if you take back, you go to Tony Robbins learned from Jim Rohn from Earl Schoaf, Napoleon Hill, Marcus Aurelius for sure. And there's a few in between I've missed, but there are certain high level humans that have lived through existence, through humanity and through time. And their exemplar lives were led not due to their actions, but more because of the way they thought about themselves and the way they thought about their existence. And that's what Stoicism is. It really, it allows a human being to step back and view their life from a different lens. And it's the art of living aware. It's full awareness. It's like the Matrix, when the bullets slow down and he picks the bullets out of the sky. It's literally like, if you can understand Stoicism, if you can understand the art of awareness of where you're at, where you could go, where you have been, and everything into this life experience, it's so powerful. It's so powerful to live a joyful life, because men are that they might have joy. We're here to be happy. We're here to learn the good, the bad, everything, but ultimately to find joy.
Yeah. And what do you think about the idea that it doesn't take a natural talent or something that makes you extremely rare to live with awareness?
Well, I was on this surf trip in Panama, okay? And this little teeny village off the coast of Chiquiri in Panama. And I'll never forget this, because when I first came in on the boats, right, we were going on the surf trip, I was like, wow, the level of poverty. I went to this little family, and they literally had chickens in their little hut and their little house. And I kind of felt bad, like, wow, this is extreme poverty. And then this young boy around 12 years old came around the corner, and he had 2 mitts and a ball. And I remember going and playing catch with him. And after that game of catch right on the beach in this far off land, I saw the joy in this young kid's eyes. And to the natural person or wherever we live, you'd think he had nothing. But this young boy was the happiest kid I'd ever met. And it was his state of mind. It was his joy. It was all the noise wasn't there. He had these beautiful banana trees and this beautiful garden. They lived off the land. And that was the art of awareness. That was a person, and I could see in his eyes that he was truly happy and he was aware of his environment and where he was at. And he was just so joyful. So, will that kid go out and impact thousands of lives? No, but I bet he impacts his village. I bet he impacts a few around him. And I think a lot of us think we have to do these grandiose, huge things, but the average person will affect 40,000 lives in their lifetime, for good or for bad. So every single one of us has a ripple effect in humanity, whether we like it or not. And it's in the tune of thousands, from those that will read about us when we're gone to those that we'll interact with in the future. So it's the art of awareness is for all of us. For big thinkers, people are doing big things, but even for all of us that are just doing things. If you're part of humanity, you're part of a big deal.
Mm. Yeah, and I like how you say that, right? Because it makes you want to take ownership of what is that ripple effect you're creating. Is it good or bad? Positive, we making people better, or we making things worse?
100%. 100%.
All right. What about this one? What's one word that describes how you're going to show up this year?
That's a good one. How am I going to show up this year? Productive. I'm going to be a builder this year.
Okay. What a builder. What are we building? Like, what is it at the end of the year if that word comes to fruition and you're like, man, I built this year. What does that look like?
It's going to be getting out my message about my life cadence, the B7 Superhuman Rhythm. It's going to be building humans. I find joy in helping others achieve their goals and achieve their dreams, and it's going to be that to building my business and building and forging a better relationship with my family and friends, coworkers, and to absolutely learn to maximize and use the power of my mind to control my thoughts. And yeah, that's I'm going to be building more positive thinking, but more being more vulnerable, building.
All right. One final question for you, Dave. You get to have a 5-minute conversation with future Dave. So it can be 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road. In that conversation, what do you want to ask yourself?
Did you do all that you could? No one on their deathbed wishes they spent more time at the office. And no one says, I wish I had more money. You'll never find a hearse pulling a trailer full of gold and silver. And the question I want to ask myself is, did you make the impact that God brought you to earth to make?
Yeah, dude, that's so good, man. I don't know if I'm just weird that way, but I play those conversations a lot in my head, right? Especially if I'm doing something that's hard today and maybe it's easy for me to not want to do. I'll ask myself, like, what would future self tell you right now?
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta play the avatar. I mean, it's like sometimes you don't feel like doing things and you think, "Well, what would Super Dave do?" Would Super Dave get up and just push through? And sometimes you
Yeah.
have to, like, imagine it's not yourself and imagine it's a super person that you can be, and sometimes it's the thought that, "Wait a minute, that guy over there did it, I can do it." That person over there was able to push through, I can push through. And so it's stepping outside your own doubt and your own fears and everything and just pushing.
Yeah, 100%. And then I always go to this one, Dave. I go to this one a lot, and that is the thing that seems so hard today that I maybe don't want to do. Would future self die to have the opportunity to do it one more time?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
and
mean,
usually that's the answer, right?
anyone can look too in their past, for a brief glimpse in the rearview mirror and say, "Man, if I would have had that to do over again." Right? And
Yeah.
so it's a question you always ask yourself. And so, yeah, I mean, if you can, have the ability to remember when you get in those moments, then you'll be on point to make the right decision and to push through when things don't feel like it.
Yeah, and you're gonna practice doing it, right? You're gonna get good muscle memory at doing things that don't feel comfortable that maybe you should do, but you want to put off because you're practicing it over and over.
Right. Right. And it's non-negotiable. It's like if you can be super aware of what's going on, once you get that sensation, like, this sucks, I don't want to do it. If you have the muscle memory and the non-negotiable that says, wait a minute, this sucks, I don't really want to do this, but I know I should. The common sense inside me, that burning sensation inside me is telling me I should. You have two decisions to make. You can retreat or you can just take one little step and one little step. And so it's the art of taking the next little step. You can't get to the gym. You do 10 sit-ups and 10 push-ups in your garage or in your living room, right? You always keep the stream at least a trickle. You might not be able to go and smash out everything that you thought that you were going to do because it's painful and there's tragedy in our lives, but we can do one little thing. We can do something that moves us towards our goal and the things that we want in our lives, one little baby step at a time.
Mm. Yeah, I love it. I think that ties me into the first question I want to bring up to you, Dave, is what led you to realizing that the key to success and sustained success wasn't motivation alone, but was rhythm? Talk us through that discovery, please.
Well, true success is going from failure to failure to failure without losing enthusiasm, without saying, I'm a failure. It's recognizing and learning from the past and saying, okay, what can I do different? What can I do different? And our our bodies operate in vibration. It's this is a known fact. There's a vibration in our bodies. You know, a plane to the mainland and a plane to Hawaii back, there's an hour difference. And you got the same plane, the same people, the same pilot, and the same fuel, but it's an hour difference. And so that's because of the rhythm of the plane. It's the vibration. And so our bodies are operating in this vibration. And if we can keep our bodies in tune, you know, if Bob Marley was here, he'd call it a rhythm. You know, I like to joke around, but you're living this song, you're living a rhythm, and if you got all this chaos in your life and the drums are going at the wrong time and the lead guitarist at the wrong time, you get your body just gets so stressed out and chaotic. And so when you create these non-negotiable rhythms in your life, the headwind or certain things come and you just push right through and you stay in rhythm and you stay in flow and you're able to recognize issues, recognize problems and navigate them and solve those problems and move forward and not have them slow you back and take a year off your life or 2 months or 2 days or whatever it might be. So rhythm is so important. And how you do that is with little daily disciplines. If there's no daily discipline, then you're like a boat tossed among the waves with no sail and no course.
When did you start recognizing that in your life and that was going to be something so important that you built part of your life around sharing this philosophy?
Well, I mean, I at a young age, I had an interesting childhood. I moved 29 times by the time I was 18. I was in youth corrections custody. So the state of Utah, I lived all over, grew up on the beach in Southern California. My dad was a surfer, come from a family of 13 children. My mom has 47 grandkids, same mom and dad, and just went through it as a young kid. And they took custody of me. The state of Utah took custody of me when I was 14, like 13 and a half, just because I just couldn't listen to anybody and basically ran away and lived on the street for years and in and out of lockup facilities. And so I was really angry. And it wasn't until I learned the art of forgiveness to where I really came into myself and was able to forgive myself, forgive others, and wanting to live with joy. And that kind of started my journey. But what set it off when I was young, when I was like 10 through 12, my dad worked for the Stephen Covey. He's one of the first 30 employees of Stephen Covey, who wrote the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So I would travel around and go to seminars, you know, before I started getting in a bunch of trouble as a young kid. And I was stealing donuts and coffee in the back, but I was surrounded by these high level CEOs, you know, like Fortune 500 companies, Mercedes Benz, BMW, and like going to these seminars. And I was around, my dad used to play Jim Rome tapes and I didn't know it, but it, you know, subconsciously it was going in my mind. But I was like, oh, dad, do we got to listen to this guy again? You know, pennies in my pockets, creditors calling, the whole Jim Rome bit. But it changed my life because when I really hit rock bottom and I had no direction and I was facing going to jail for a long period of time. And fortunately, my dad convinced my PO to let my Polynesian family adopt me out here in Hawaii. I moved here when I was just right before I turned 18 and got off probation and just kind of started my journey. But it was that fundamental belief in listening to those tapes about mental toughness when I was younger that I think had me kind of go into this space of personal development and being superhuman. And that kind of started my journey. And over that, it's been a career of, wins and losses. Getting married and building an incredible masonry business and multimillionaire by the time I was 28, and then bought a ton of real estate, thought I was on cloud nine, and then '07, everyone's like recession, and I was like, I'm in my 20s and I'm racing motocross full time and traveling the world, and I was like, recession, what does that mean, right? I mean, I didn't know till all my contracts started getting canceled and it was spiraled and I lost everything, and I had to go to my sweet wife. We had 3 little kids. We just had our 3rd son and we had to pick a house to live in. We lost all our houses and lost everything and started all over again. And it was a tragedy in my life, but it was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me because out of tragedy comes the greatest awareness. And that was something I couldn't see at the time, but looking back, probably one of the greatest things that ever happened to me was losing everything.
I want to follow up on that, but I want to go back for a second, David. David, you said something that I found interesting, and that was when you found the art of forgiveness. So I think you said you're about 14 years old. You're a young person. You're angry. You're in and out of trouble.
Well, that was 18 when I got out, when
Okay.
I on the forgiveness side, because I was angry.
Yeah, yeah,
I hated. I was so pissed at my parents because every time I had a friend, I moved to a new neighborhood, I'd meet somebody, and then that friend was ripped out of my life. So I didn't have like anytime I got to know someone as a young man, it was like, oh, sorry, I'm moving. See you later. And it was
yeah.
hard. It was really hard as a young man to not have an identity or a friend. Most people, oh, I grew up in this little small town, or I grew up in this neighborhood, and maybe moved a couple times. It was like I was a gypsy. It's like I was on this just high by roller coaster, and I was angry. I was angry at my parents, and I was angry, and I was got in a lot of trouble, and I got out of the trouble in about 18 to 20 and then had a situation where I came to visit Utah, my family, and my mom pulled all of us 6 older kids aside and basically was like, "Hey, I got to divorce your dad." And that was like, man, we're this church going family. Everything seemed to be okay. We did move a ton, but it was like we were happy, I thought. And it was just it wasn't the situation I thought, and basically fought extreme anger with my father, and the things we went through with him, and I was the oldest that wasn't married, so my oldest brother's like, "Hey, Dave, you gotta help mom." So here I was stuck in Utah, working a job. My mom was working 3 jobs, and my dad's sailing in the Galapagos Islands with his buddies because he just mentally checked out. And my mom's financially responsible for 8 children at home, and it was quite the situation where I was miserable, and I want to smash my dad. Be honest with you,
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
dude, how could you do this to our family? How what this and that, and yeah, through my mom and through the grace of God, I was able to find forgiveness for him and which led to forgiving myself. So it's been a road, but now every Friday is Forgiveness Friday. So I get to exercise it once a week.
So talk me through that process because I think that's valuable for our community to understand it is how forgiveness is freeing, right? It frees you of what you've been carrying.
Yeah. Well, I going back to my mom, my mom. My mom is an angel. She's the most remarkable woman on the planet Earth. And I was in this state of working and watching her work, and I remember thinking of all these ways we could get dad accountable, right? It was all about, oh, he's got to be accountable. He's got to be accountable. And just a second.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. You're gonna have
No
to edit
worries,
that one.
man.
You have to
Real
edit
life.
that one out. What's that?
It's real life, my friend.
Real life. Yeah, my son. Okay. But anyway, so I'm thinking of all these ways to hold my dad accountable and really, really kind of put the nuts and bolts to him because I'm like, you wrecked your family. Here I am. I finally figured out a way to get sober and stop drinking, and now my life is starting to take shape. And now you're gone, and I'm forced to be this surrogate father to 8 kids and help my mom. And so I remember contacting the state, and I figured out my mom could get $350 for each child. And I was pumped. I was like, yes, let's go. So I go to mom. I think I discovered this way that she doesn't have to work so much. And I go to my mom. I said, hey, mom, did you know that ORS will actually, you can collect $350 per kid and they'll go after dad. And then you don't have to work so much. You can just work one job and be home. And I'll never forget her, embracing me. She gave me a hug and she said, David, it's better that we work really hard in this time that dad is down and out, because it's better that these young little children don't have to go visit a father in jail. We are able to work right now. Your dad's suffering mentally and it won't do any help to push him when he's down. And I mean, to me, it was like, whoa. And to give you context, my mom would go to work at 9 p.m. and come home at 7, get the kids ready for school, get them off to school. Then she'd go hit wingers for the lunch shift, come back, help the kids get back from school, then go to IHOP, wait tables, and leave from IHOP to the factory on the graveyard.
Wow.
And that's with 8 children, doing dishes, laundry, won't accept help from the church. I was like, Mom, go to the church because our church helps, and she said, no, it's the church funds are for those people that are really, really suffering, and we're able to work and work hard, and we're super blessed. And just this positive, beautiful, bright attitude. Man, that was heavy for me because I was so angry at my dad, and that kind of started this thing on forgiveness, because I just was so engulfed with anger towards someone else, and it was my dad. It was just like every thought, and I was angry during the day, and I had it was this cancer that was inside me. And then the straw that broke the camel's back is I'm in my little red Toyota pickup truck, 1982, bumping my hip hop, cruising down the road, and I glance over at our church building, and my mom was in the dirt with 6 of her children planting flowers, and I just about lost it. She hadn't had a day off in like 4 months, and I'm thinking, the little clipboard comes around and during church, who wants to volunteer for planting flowers at the ward house? And of course, here's my mom, her only day off. And I just remember pulling over and just ripping at my steering wheel. I almost ripped my steering wheel off. I was so angry. So angry. I was like, God, I remember yelling at God, like, God, you know what? You serve mom dirt. And now look at her. She's in the dirt.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So
And
what?
then,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
that that's when I was like, okay. And that's when I mean, for me, religiously, I'm Christian, but that's when I saw my Savior, in the Garden of Gethsemane. That's when I realized it was like this. My mom became my savior. And she said, it doesn't matter what anyone does to you. It doesn't matter anything. True happiness is found in serving others and letting things go. And it just clicked. I was like, I can't live with this anymore. Called my dad up, told him I loved him, said, I forgive you. I forgive you. And I love you. And it's been an ongoing process. And it's not like it's just a twinkling of an eye. But since that day on, when I've been, you know, betrayed or anything that happens, I'm quick to forgive.
And what's that done for you?
It is. Eagles cannot soar when their wings are just cankered with dirt. I mean, every one of us has so many capabilities and so much talent and gifts to give to the human experience. And when we're weighed down with these angry feelings or animosity towards our fellow man, it holds us back. It doesn't hold the person we're mad at. It really holds us back. It's like that plane I was telling you about. It's complete headwind. It ruins our vibration. It is so paramount that we completely live free of the judgment of others. We can judge if something's wrong or right, but to judge someone's standing before God, or to say this person's that and talk ill of another person behind their back is it only hurts us, and it keeps us from achieving our goals. It slows us down in our process, and really screws up our internal vibration.
Dude, that's so well said. So well said. And I think That's such a big point, right? A lot of times people think forgiveness is letting somebody else off the hook, right? Letting somebody else get a pass, whatever they did wrong. And really, like the true essence of forgiveness is it allows you to become light again.
Yeah, I was in a wilderness program, and I sometimes I put it like this. So I got locked up. I went to there's a show on Netflix about these wilderness programs in the '90s, and so I went down this wilderness program. And if you used bad language while we were hiking, we'd hike 8 miles a day and set up camp, right? And if you were swearing along the trail or did dumb things, they'd make you put a rock in your backpack. And I'll never forget. We're coming up this ridge line, and there was this one kid that just had the total foul mouth, and he's on like rock number 10, and he's holding the whole group up, and he just all of a sudden falls over and just wails. Never forget. I've never seen a young man cry like that. He wept and screamed and cried and cried and cried. And I liken that to the things we're holding on to. Every time we take what someone has done to us or we perceive what they've done to us and we don't let go of it, we're putting a rock in our backpack and we're just trucking around in life, holding on to all this baggage. And it it doesn't even affect the person we're mad at. It doesn't hold them accountable. It doesn't do anything. It just hurts us. And so when we free ourselves and we take the rocks and say, no more, I forgive you. It doesn't mean you let someone into your life that isn't safe or doesn't have boundaries, but it does mean that you can have a thought about that person and love them, forgive them, and say, that is one of God's children. That is my fellow brother and sister human. And I wish what's best for them. I pray for them and I hope all is well for them and mean it. And when you do that, you watch your sneakers just it's like you got Air Jordans. You know what I mean? You're just, oh man, forgiveness is like, it is such a gift. You want to, just one topic. I mean, you and I, we could talk about this for hours. It's the one thing in your life that if every week on Friday, you manifest forgiveness and you work on that, everything in your life and your vibration will be on point.
So let's finish with that real quick. Let's stay on that before we move on. How do you structure your Friday to practice this? How would you say, like, if a community member is like, "Hey, I want to do Forgiveness Fridays," what does that structure and the habits on a Friday look like to you?
Well, I have non-negotiables. So every morning I have non-negotiable. The non-negotiable is I'm up by 5:30. I'm challenging everyone on my social and to do 100 days straight, except for Sunday because it's a day of worship. That's up to them. But Monday through Saturday, 5:30 a.m., and you have your morning ritual. And the intention throughout the day is to, when I meditate in the morning and I think all the individuals in my life that maybe I need to say sorry to or have offended me. So it's not just, hey, I've got to forgive you. Sometimes I can't find forgiveness. Sometimes the rock in my backpack is I've offended someone and my ego and my pride can't let me go and send a text and say I'm sorry or apologize. So it's all those, and it's a evaluation in the morning time and saying, you know what, today I'm going to go throughout today and I'm going to really think about any individual that I've offended or who has offended me, and I'm going to do my best to apologize to them. And sometimes it's personal. Sometimes I'll write a text and I send it to my wife because I'm not ready to send it to that person, but I'm on my way. I'm taking the baby steps, right? And so the whole day is spent. And it's funny because my wife and I get in an argument on Friday because Friday's our date night. Sometimes when you're trying to get your date night in, it seems like all these problems arise, right? And we just have this little joke, if something goes on and it's like, oh, I'm sorry. And you got to let it go. It's Forgiveness Friday. So it's just it gets people in the mind. And the cool thing about Friday is our blood memory is high state of dopamine. It's the weekend. We're going into the party the next night or whatever it might be, but you've got this, you're high on dopamine because you don't have to work, right? And so our blood memories are in a heightened state is a perfect time to let go because it's a heightened state of joy in our communities.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So let's pivot here to B7, the Superhuman Rhythm. Talk to us about the 7 components that you've identified that creates that rhythm, and which one is the one that we can use the most improvement upon.
So growing up in a Christian family, the Sabbath day was really pushed heavy on me. And I was always like, dude, like, I get it. I get Sunday's the Sabbath day, and I get that. But I was like, what about all the other days? I was like, who's leaving all the other 6 out, right? This theme of the Sabbath day. And then I was reading that more heart attacks happen from 8 a.m. to like 10 a.m. on Monday morning than any day. And it doesn't matter your ethnic background, your cholesterol level. It's all your state of mind is just, I'm in this job that I think isn't good for me. I'm in this scenario that I think is going to ruin me. I'm in a financial situation I think I can't get out of. And so that sparked Motivation Monday. And so that kind of got this set going. And then I always had Whisper in the Wind Wednesday. I always coined that my day. And then I was like, what if every day had a theme? And so over this 2-year period, I just started trying to listen to the inspiration that I had. And that's when I came up with, Motivation Monday. You can't live on motivation every day or you'll be a motivated idiot. Everyone knows a guy that goes from seminar to seminar to seminar to seminar and he's just all pumped, but he gets home and, it's like motivation's like, it's like owning a Tesla, and Monday's the day you charge it. And all the other days and all the other things you want to do in your life are the vehicle and you need to go after it. But there's one day to charge it. So that's where you review your why. You understand why you're on earth. What do you want out of this life and how are you going to go get it? And then Tuesday's Tracking Tuesday, self-awareness, being the avatar. I have 100,000 thoughts a day. 80% of them on average are negative and 90% are the same I had the day before, the day before, the day before, you see what I'm saying? The day you're on this hamster wheel. So I always say, look, your subconscious mind is 90%. Your conscious is 10. If you're consciously thinking negative, the 90 little foot soldiers are going to act out all the stuff you're putting in. So it's controlling your mind. That's Tracking Tuesday. Whisper Wednesday. It's a day of intuition. If you were to interview first responders, airline pilots, doctors, every one of them, you could do 100 shows on all the stories of them saying, I just had a hunch. I had this feeling inside and it altered the benefit of humanity. I saved somebody's life. I was able to find a murderer, FBI agent, had a hunch that, but they're exercising their intention 24/7 is intuition. So they're listening to the whisper. So they get used to using it. Well, intuition is like a muscle. It's like anything else. And so Whisper Wednesday, I go on an 8-mile morning whisper walk in the woods. No social media on Wednesday. There's no music. I literally drive around in my car, just silence. What's coming to me? What am I hearing? I ended up in the mainland. I ended up on other islands. I mean, I listen to the whisper and I go. And so that's Whisper Wednesday. And then Thursday is Thankful Thursday. And the intention behind that is based around the dichotomy that an army of lions led by a sheep will always be defeated by an army of sheep led by a lion. And the answer to that dichotomy is attitude. And attitude is directly in correlation with gratitude. And so when we have an attitude of gratitude, the worst and darkest of days, if we can see that little shimmer of light and hope, then a true leader can go into their own life and the lives of others and inspire and turn depressed individuals into fearless lions. And that is gratitude. We discussed Forgiveness Friday, and Forgiveness Friday is simple. We already went over that. And then you've got Saturday, which is Satisfaction Saturday. And no one on their deathbed says, you know what? I wish I would have spent more time at the office. No, it's like, I need one more moment with my love. My kids are growing up, my family members, my auntie's dying. Back to forgiveness. Oh, I can't forgive my dad. Well, my wife has a close friend and she got incarcerated and she was real, in a way, my wife couldn't talk to her as much as she wanted to because she felt it was really hard on my wife. Well, she just found out she passed away. And she had been reaching out to her for about a year and she didn't answer her calls. And this really hurt my wife because we just don't know, right? And now she has that feeling, well, could I have talked to her one last time? And we don't want to be in that situation where it's like, we wish we would have had one more moment. It's like, take the time to enjoy life with the ones that you love. And then Supplication Sunday is Sunday. And I always say a man stands tallest on his knees. And when we supplicate, I've been in jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu for 15 years. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to, I'm tapping out, right? Like I'm submitting to your will because you're either going to take my arm. I'm going to be passed out here in a minute because you're choking me or my ankle, or whatnot. And it's the same in life. The minute we recognize without a higher power, without God in our lives, we can't do this alone and truly find joy. And so it's losing the ego and supplicating. I need to submit to a higher power. I need to recognize there is a greater good above me that's guiding me and looking out for me. And so that's the B7 rhythm. And the reason it's been easy for me and easy to teach is there's so many personal development programs, and they have 6 steps to this and 7 steps to that, where this is like a canvas. You see all this artwork behind me, right? Each artist, most of the stuff behind my grandpa's, but each artist inside my office, I have it, all the other walls are covered with art. It was their life, it was their canvas, but they lived by certain principles of the brush and the paint, you see? And so what B7 does is it gives you that superhuman intention and superhuman attribute, and it allows you to do your framework and your culture and your way around it because it's so simple. It's like Motivation Monday, Tracking Tuesday. Okay, Whisper Wednesday, intuition, gratitude, forgiveness. Let's have fun, submit to a higher power. And then again and again. And so you get on this rhythm, and all the other things in your life start to be manifested, and you get into that sync and you play the beautiful song of life.
Yeah, no, I like how you break that down. I like how it flows in a natural cycle of the days, and one builds upon the next, but they're all independently of value, right? Like,
Yeah, and your brain track, you got to remember, we have thousands. So the average person has 4,098 grandmas and grandpas. Okay, you and I are probably 15 cousins. Just it's good to meet. Nice to meet you, cousin. So you think about it, for thousands of years, we've been living this week cadence already. And so what's revolutionary about B7 is you're now taking the seven and very, very important human attributes, and you're attaching them to the day of the week. So once you live it for a month, you don't need to open a book. You don't, your internal vibration knows. And it's just so easy to remember. And it's so easy to help get you back on, get you back on, get you back on.
yeah, I want to ask you this because I hear this a lot, talking to different people around the world, and a lot of times they're ready to make a change. They're ready to move forward. They have new ideas, new goals, but either the circle of people they're in aren't ready for them to make the change. Their environment seems to hold them back. They just can't seem to break free. So how do you suggest people build a supportive structure for themselves if maybe not everybody around them understands why they're doing it?
Well, that starts with Monday. And and it takes being super, super, super vulnerable with yourself. Like if you're not having a conversation in the mirror, then you're not ready to go to work. And it's sitting down with a white canvas, white piece of paper, no lines, and a pen, and saying, what do you want in life? Truly deep down inside, who do you want to be, and where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it might be, 1 year? And being brutally honest, like, and push everything aside, your current situation, everything. And once you can figure that out, then you can be brutally honest with the people you're with. Because if I want to be sober, then I have friends that I love that still party, but I'm not with them all the time. We check in here and there, but I'm not in places and environments that are not conducive with where I'm going in my life. And does it hurt? Yes. Are there certain individuals? But you have to be honest with yourself and ask, when I'm with this person, are they draining me, or are we elevating each other? Because if you show me your 5 friends you hang out with the most, right? I'm going to show you yourself. I'm going to show you your future. And so it's surrounding yourself with individuals that are like-minded, because not only is your body in rhythm, but when you interact with other humans, you can get in a rhythm with them. So like business partners, your partner and your spouse, you want to be in rhythm with the people and the ones that you love. And if these people are draining you, or this scenario is draining you, you're not going to be able to get that foot in and get started. But it really starts with self-evaluation, self-awareness, and being raw and real with yourself and writing things down. I mean, writing things down is just one of the most incredible things that you could ever do. I have a quick story about that. And hopefully it doesn't, but
Yeah, go
anyway,
ahead.
so remember I told you about when we lost everything, right? So we lost everything and we're like, okay, we have one house we can go stay with while we're everything's falling apart. 08, 09. And we say, okay, well, I don't want to, let's go to Hawaii and start all over again. Because we had a house in Hawaii, we used to go back and forth. So we come to Hawaii and I'm in complete depression. I can't get out of bed for 8 months. Like my wife's basically nursing me, feeding me Campbell soup. I'm acting like I'm dying or whatever, right? And it was just pure hell. And any rate, we sold everything that we had, and I had an old beat up Ford dump truck, and we drove it to California, put it on the boat. And we had 2 pallets of all of our belongings. That's all we had were 2 pallets, no money, nothing. We were basically had, we were getting our government help and everything because we had no money. And I just felt like a total loser. And I remember my son's first day of school, we had gotten the truck the day before at the boat harbor. And so brought it home and I hadn't kind of digged into the pallets yet to unpack our stuff. I drop off my oldest son, Simeon, at the elementary school. And I come back and I'm unloading the stuff and I start going through some old photo albums and I come to our wedding album and I get to the back of our wedding book, where people write little, little good wishes and stuff. And right there, it all came back to me. My wife and I, on our wedding night when we left, and all the dust had kind of settled. We're waiting to go on our honeymoon. There was this paper, this open white paper, and it said, "We will live by the beach no later than our oldest son Simeon's first day of school." Now, I read that the first day I dropped my son off by the beach at La Ie Elementary, and I had written that down 5 years earlier when my wife was pregnant, and we both signed it. I completely forgot about it. And here's a contract with myself, and it took me losing everything. And that is what lifted me out of my depression. I was like, wow, how powerful is that? That I made a contract with myself and the universe. And I said, I'm going to live by the beach to raise my family. So it's one of those things. That's the power of writing things down. So yeah, to get started, you're in the dark. I understand. And that's where you get started, by really being vulnerable and honest with yourself.
Yeah, and I think what I love you said there, Dave, most importantly is not relying on others, not asking others to seek validation in how you feel or what you're doing, but being honest with yourself, right? Because
Yeah,
it starts
100%.
there.
It's because we think people lie to us. We lie to ourselves more than we lie to anyone else. We lie to ourselves. We say, I'm going to go do this. We don't do it. And no one hears it, but it's in our mind. All of us get little whispers of things we should do. We don't do them. We make excuses for ourselves. That's why we're so afraid to make a public declaration. That's why I'm helping people with the 5:30 a.m. I'm raising my hand in my community. I'm going to wake up every day at 5:30 for 100 days straight. And there's a thing called the art of gyoji, where these monks at the top of the mountains in Japan, they've been meditating for over 2,500 years, the same time at 3 a.m. And they even have a plan that if there's a typhoon, we'll go to the kitchen. And if the kitchen burns down, we'll go to a cave. But it's a non-negotiable. And they all sign a contract. They all raise their hand and say, look, I'm going to meditate for this time at 3 a.m. every day. And no one's ever broken it. And I think sometimes we're afraid to speak to our loved ones and say, hey, you know what? Hold me accountable. This is what I'm going to do. Because we're almost afraid. We're afraid we're going to break it like the past. We're afraid if we make this declaration to the universe. And I don't mean taking your goals and your dreams and, you don't want to cast pearls before swines. You don't go around saying, oh, I'm going to have this, this, and that. But when it comes to your private, personal, close friends that you can make an impact with, absolutely make a declaration. Hey, you know what, bro? I'm going to stop. I'm just going to start drinking only one day a week. And I'm letting you know, I'm not going to let you down as your brother. Or sweetie, whatever it is that you're struggling in your marriage or in your life, you make these, because it takes a community, and you make a declaration to yourself to honor yourself and honor others and be bold and say, you know what, I'm going to do some non-negotiables right now. If, if the typhoon comes, I'm going to the kitchen. If the kitchen burns down, I'm going to the cave. But no matter what it takes, I'm waking up at 5:30 every morning and doing my meditation and my morning routine. And I better be deaf, dumb, blind, and dead, or it's going to happen.
You know what I like about that, Dave? And I think I love that, right? And you're right. I think sometimes we hold back because we don't want to fail, right? We don't want our friends to know, oh, I didn't live up to it. But I think there's also a part of us, Dave, that sometimes we hold back because we don't actually want to succeed either. Because if I actually accomplish what I say I want to accomplish, there's a whole new set of responsibilities waiting for me.
Yeah.
Right
The
now, all
fear
of a
of
sudden,
success.
right. And so it's easy to sabotage myself, to keep myself in that middle comfort zone, right? Like I'm not expecting too much. I'm not wanting too much. I'm right in the
Yeah,
middle
I'm
because I'm
not gonna go
safe.
start that business that I've always wanted to start because I got the 9 to 5 job. Everything's comfortable. And as we know, there's no growth in comfort. There's no growth in comfort. If you go to the gym and you lift only 20 pounds 10 times every day, only 10 times, and there's no, do I move it up to 15s and then 20? There's no
Yeah.
growth without tearing something. There has to be some type of destruction for something to rebuild. It's like a forest fire. When it burns down a forest, you have all these new seedlings, and those seedlings won't open up without a fire. And so in our lives, we're so afraid to get, there's like they say, there's no growth in the comfort zone, right? And there's no comfort in the growth zone. You ready to grow? Get vulnerable with yourself, be honest with yourself, and start writing stuff down every morning. Start cutting out the fat in your life that doesn't, things that are just not necessary. We live on, like I said, the kid in Panama. I mean, you think of what we live on. Someone says, oh, I don't have enough money. Really? What are you spending money throughout the day on? How come you can't save money? There's people that live on less than $5 a day in this world. 98% of everything you see, touch, and feel in our society in America is not a necessity. It's a luxury, right?
Yeah.
And it's just our perception of what we have. And so it's being brutally honest, eliminating unnecessary things. Unnecessary. Your time is so valuable. It's every second of every moment is a gift. And when you look at it like that, it's almost like kind of tricking your mind. Like, I only have another week to live. What would I do? Oh, they're giving me another week. I only have another week to live, right? And you're living like you're
Yeah.
dying.
Memento mori.
Memento mori. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Memento
Right.
mori. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Or we almost die. Right. I
Yep.
mean, it's not in a bad way. It's just saying we're dying. Like, so should you live? And with that,
Yeah.
Dave, I want to thank you so much for joining us, dude, and for coming on and sharing your story. Where can our audience follow you and become part of your community? Maybe they want to start getting up early in the mornings with you for the next 100 days. Where can they join you to make that happen?
So they can go. My IG handle is become7official. So just be like you're becoming something, become7official. And you can also get a free copy of my audiobook that comes out in 45 days. If you go register at my website, which is becoming7.com, but that's also on the IG handle. So you can see it right there.
Awesome. We'll be sure to put tags to all this in our show notes. Dave, thank you so much for joining us, man. We're proud of the work you're doing. We're excited to follow along in the journey.
Okay, brother. Aloha. And next time you come out here, we're going to get you some surf lessons.
I love it. Thank you so much, my friend.
Okay, brother. Aloha.